Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically me, featuring me. No special guests, just me. How are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are having a great week. I hope that you had a great weekend. I hope that you enjoyed my last video, which was part 1 of a series that I am doing with the help of Chris and his Substack. This is going to be part 2, and I have titled it Lancashire Constabulary Corruption Update, because that's exactly what he titled it. So it's going to be easy for you to find if you go to his Substack. Like I said, a lot of this is going to be more my opinion. I'm going to be getting the information from his page. I'm going to be adding some information that I already know or that I have found out throughout my research process, and as well as my opinion. This entire video is going to be showing how Lancashire Constabulary has been handling any request made by the public in regards to the Nicola Bulley case. It will be entirely up to you, as always, to decide what you make of it. As always, I'm simply giving you the information that I have found to be legit. I'm sharing my opinion on it, and then I'm allowing for you to make your own opinion. This is all speculation for edutainment purposes only. Do your own research, yada, yada, yada. You all know the drill by now. Many of us are painstakingly awaiting the inquest, scheduled for June 26th, and it's just around the corner now. What will they say? Will we believe what they say? I think it's important to get out as much as I can before the inquest, because once the inquest is complete, I undoubtedly believe this case will be closed. There will be no reopening. So before that happens, there is something that we can do. Those of us who believe that corruption is a part of this can push back. We can write to the necessary people. We can keep it out there that we believe corruption within the Lancashire police is at play. We can also sign the petitions that are available for further investigations, which again, I will link in the description to this video below. I know there are more than one, as well as the link to Chris's Substack, which I put in my last video, part 1, where I have been given direct permission by Chris to share all of this information as I see fit. What is important is that the info is shared and an independent investigation is opened up because of it before the inquest, if possible. So let's get on with it then. The path of least resistance is to give up. And it's actually quite an easy thing to do when distracted by the never-ending diversions that allow one day to blend into another. We are all just bystanders to the barrage of misinformation communicated through the airwaves and across social media and mainstream media as well. Information overload is an effective tool in the hands of those who seek to manipulate society. The objective being to overwhelm people, to hinder action, and to prevent effective decision-making, while continuing to promote and reinforce blind obedience and compliance. We see it all the time, not just in crime cases, in life in general. Every single day, we are misled into believing that there is just one way, the way that we are being told on mainstream media. If you question this, you're a conspiracy theorist, or even worse, you're a domestic terrorist. I don't even know if I can say that word on YouTube. I might have to bleep it out. Slowly but surely, we are being led into full compliance, unallowed to speak our mind or think for ourselves. Without getting too much into my own thoughts on these things, because we know it is much more important to be politically correct when it comes to social media than to be honest. But as Chris says in his Substack, quote, "Giving up isn't my character. I will continue to pursue justice for Nicola Bulley, not least for 2 important reasons. Firstly, on a human level, her 2 young daughters may yet grow up to learn that their mother was subject to an unlawful killing, rather than the despicable insinuations from the police force that can never be undone. And secondly, while it should come to no surprise, the full extent of criminal enterprise that runs unchecked in this country, organized crime groups, drug gangs, child trafficking. We can't accept for publicly funded police forces to brazenly cover up crime on someone's say, no matter who that someone is. unquote. And I completely agree with Chris. I know many of us agree with Chris. And when it comes to that second part of his why, if we don't begin to wake up and join together to fight this, things are only going to worsen. The goal is division. Isn't that the phrase, divide and conquer? United we stand, divided we fall. I'm not going to sit here and throw out quotes. I think many of you understand exactly what I'm saying. But this isn't necessarily a political channel, so we're just going to leave that to the wayside for now, though politics does play a huge part in what is going on here, in my opinion. But let's just skirt around a few things, okay, so that this video actually gets shown and not flagged. So I told you guys that Chris had some email correspondence where he actually made a formal complaint of serious corruption against key individuals of Lancashire Constabulary. He submitted this complaint to their Professional Standards Department, or PSD. Unfortunately, this avenue of correspondence has run its course with the PSD because they have refused to acknowledge complainant status on the grounds of having, quote, no connection to the investigation, unquote. This, unfortunately, permits PSD to not record the complaint, nor to be subject to a statutory requirement to refer it on to an Independent Office for Police Conduct, or IOPC, for the independent investigation. And we covered a lot of this in the last video. What's ironic about this is that the police force made a public show of referring themselves to IOPC on February 16th over the contact that they had with Nicola Bulley on January 10th, prior to her January 27th disappearance. However, the timing of this referral being the day after that police press conference on February 15th with Rebecca Smith, cynically speaking, it could very well have been in part to draw attention away from that ridiculous conference itself. The police press conference I'm speaking about is the one where DSI Rebecca Smith went all in on the cover-up of Nicola Bulley's disappearance. You know, the one we discussed in the last video. And it took place just 4 days before the staged and sensational events of the alleged finding and recovering of Nicola Bulley's body. This press conference was February 15th. Her body was found on the 19th. So why must an independent review of the high profile and public spectacle surrounding Nicola Bulley be made a priority? Well, simply stated, it just can't be allowed to set yet another precedent. While the media circus and ever-changing script was no accident, pouring fuel on the fire to captivate a large public audience and send mostly everyone down a number of rabbit holes, we cannot continue to allow the truth to remain concealed behind a smokescreen. As I said earlier, it is time to wake up. This needs to be called out. The following are emails. The emails from Chris and the responses from PSD. Please pause to read them because I'm trying to keep this video brief because I have several more coming and I'm trying to get all of them out before the inquest, and there's just a lot, especially with the editing. So pause it in order to read it. I'm just going to kind of briefly go through the important pieces. The correspondence return begins on April 4th. Where the response refers to the IOPC guidelines asking to establish whether or not the complainant meets the criteria for complainant status. Chris is asked to go into more detail on the corruption that he mentions in his email. He's also asked if he is directly involved in the Nicola Bulley case or connected in any way. And Chris writes back that he has attached the document that he was referring to that detail his complaint of serious corruption. Chris goes on to say that he's a British citizen, he's a member of the public, and who he has alleged the complaint against, which in this case is DSI Rebecca Smith, as well as PCC Andrew Snowden. He does not beat around the bush in his allegations of corruption and concealment of corruption. He also links Andrew Snowden's College of Policing announcement, which I played in the previous video, part 1. About 8 days pass because it is now April 12th when Chris receives his response. And of course, he's kindly thanked for his email, but told that he does not have complainant status, and therefore the complaint will not be formally recorded. They go on to refer to the IOPC statutory guidance, specifically section 5.6. Again, you can pause to read this in full. But it basically says that you would need to be physically present or sufficiently nearby when the conduct took place and either saw or heard the conduct or its effects, or were adversely affected due to the fact that they knew the person directly affected by the conduct before it happened. On April 15th, Chris responds. He thanks them for their reply, but states that he must disagree. He goes on to refer to Section 5.6 of the IOPC statutory guidance, and he states that he does in fact have complainant status. He talks about Section 5.6 and he gives the definition of witness, which he can confirm that he is a competent witness. And he then brings up the avoidance of doubt, Section 5.4 of the IOPC, which states conduct includes any acts, omissions, statements, and decisions, whether actual, alleged, or inferred. On April 17th, the response to Chris is, "You're right that the guidance says that you must have witnessed something, but this would not include you witnessing events from a distance, such as from watching news coverage of a situation." They also asked for Chris to advise them as to how he personally has been adversely affected or what his connection to the investigation is so that they can reconsider this complaint. But at this time, he still does not have complainant status. April 18th, it would appear that Chris has had enough at this point, and he sends out an email for the attention of Assistant Chief Constable Sam McKenzie, who would be the head of professional standards. He begins by saying, "Your department's ongoing reluctance to formally record a valid complaint of serious corruption in accordance with the IOPC statutory guidance is noted." Okay. Dang, Chris, you ain't playing. I mean, Chris brings up the Lancashire Constabulary press conference that was held on February 15th, and he expressed how it was broadcast live, and it was extensively covered by the publicly funded BBC and numerous other national media organizations. And, this end part, I kind of have a reaction to it because I really get where he's coming from here. He ends his email by saying, quote, "Having a strong sense of integrity, I suffer distress and am adversely affected having to witness systemic corruption of a publicly funded police force. In lieu of an investigation update, the senior investigating officer, DSI Rebecca Smith, very publicly acted out a lead role in a cover-up that requires independent investigation." Woo! Can I just give you a standing ovation right now, Chris? I mean, well done. This triggered a response on April 19th coming from someone other than Assistant Chief Constable Sam McKenzie, go figure. And rather than address what was previously written, she basically calls Chris out and appears to be a bit condescending in her response because she says, quote, "Would you be so kind as to note that Mr. McKenzie is not the head of professional standards," unquote. She then directs Chris where he should actually be sending his correspondence to which Chris replies, "My email was sent directly to the headquarters of Professional Standards, including a reply to the anonymous complaint and insights detective inspector from said department." Boom. I see here that Chris did not allow for the condescension when he responded. In addition, for the sake of accountability, visibility was provided to Assistant Chief Constable Sam McKenzie, who identifies himself as the head of PSG on LinkedIn. And so does Lancashire Constabulary on their own website under Chief Officers, as noted below. And he puts the attachment in that shows that Sam McKenzie actually is claiming to be head of professional standards on LinkedIn, and that he is named this on the Lancashire Constabulary website under Chief Officers. And he also provides the link, as you can see here, with the same title. Obviously, Chris is creating quite a bit of static. He then gets this final message on the same day because no doubt people are getting a little ticked off and irritated by Chris and his consistency. And Chris is told straight up, "Look, we've read through your document. We know you have no connection to the investigation. Therefore, for the reasons already stated, you do not have complainant status." Then they say, "If this issue is a referral of the force to the IOPC, I can confirm that this has already occurred. He is then directed where to review the IOPC's decision regarding an independent review into the case. And then they go ahead and post that same piece from Section 5.6 of the IOPC statutory guidance. They even close by saying, "I believe we have explained this clearly." Almost as if to say, this is how I take it anyway. Look, we're not going to give you complainant status, okay? We've told you this enough. Kindly go F yourself. And Chris leaves it at that, because really, what else can you do? You're dealing with a force that is greater than you. And when I say the government is a force, it is a force to be reckoned with. If you never had to deal with them for anything, count yourself extremely lucky. They will protect their own at any cost. Citizens mean nothing, no matter what they say. The only time they mean something is if they agree and they remain compliant. Don't rock the boat, in my opinion, of course. To sum it all up, there never was a realistic prospect of an internal department within the police force allowing for this complaint against a very senior officer to be formally recorded. However, this route was, in any event, procedurally correct. The next words I'm reading directly from the summary on Chris's Substack. I am going to leave a few things out, only because they're very triggering to YouTube. And like I said, I do want my content seen. It does no good for me to know these things if I can't get the message out to you. So again, the link will be in the description where you can find the full content of what Chris really said. Most cover-ups are far too convoluted, of a scale that members of the public can't begin to fathom. Collectively, as a nation, we have to roll over and just take it. And it's always been this way. Consider the theater of statutory public inquiries. To rub everyone's face in it, the handing out of knighthoods to the accused is often par for the course. The establishment's way of reminding the plebs of their place and not to be a nuisance. There are opportunities to show there's at least a spark of resistance left, and this is one of them. To put into context how blatantly everyone is being lied to, a single investigative interview of DSI Rebecca Smith for no more than an hour to address 4 or 5 glaring inaccuracies would expose the cover-up in its entirety and open Pandora's box. There is just a little over 2 weeks before the inquest is scheduled to be heard on the 26th of June. It's not difficult to make an educated guess as to how the inquest fits in with the final efforts to wind up this cover-up. It was a nice touch for police divers under the instruction of HM, senior coroner, to return to the river on April 4th to assess the riverbanks in the alleged vicinity of where Nicola Bulley went missing to, quote-unquote, assist with the coronial process. If you know anyone that's genuinely waiting with bated breath as to where this inquest is heading, then I have a bridge to sell them. As for mainstream media, we needn't hold one's breath in anticipation. They dare not be a part of any effort to expose corruption and scheming in the hidden corridors of power. They remain but the mouthpiece for the authorities. From marketing the latest variant, using eye-catching visuals, extolling the safety and effectiveness of military-industrial complex products for everyone, to regaling their audiences with wonder of a psychic medium miraculously appearing to achieve what professional search resources couldn't. There is no limit to their storytelling capabilities. Imagine, if you will, most people exist day to day only to think what they are told to think and do what they are told to do until it's time to die. Here's the rub. To anyone that can't perceive this, he or she is inherently part of the consuming hive mind. And the bad news is, no one's coming to the rescue. To the minority, the free, the brave, and the good, please don't hesitate to share any valuable insights or ideas as to how to move forward. You can do this on his Substack. You can do this in the comment section below. You can reach out by email. Otherwise, that is all for part 2. Please like, share, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you are notified when part 3 comes out. We will be talking about mainstream media and the role that they have played in this entire thing. We'll be talking about Sky News, BBC, and some specific journalists. I'm going to do my very best to get all of this out to you in the next 2 weeks so that there is nothing left to wonder about on June 26th. You will know all you need to know to make an educated decision on what you choose to believe. However, Chris has already written it all on his Substack, so if you want it sooner and you want to read what actually came from him, then you can go ahead and do that. You can come back and watch my videos after, whatever you choose to do, or you can wait for me to put out the video so I can give it all to you straight. I do have to let you guys know, again, I said it a million times, I'm a mom of 4. If you don't already know that, you know it now. My children come first, and there are many times my videos end up getting put on the back burner because I'm a mom first, like I said. I'm going to do my best though. Talk to you guys on the next one. Please be safe, be healthy, be happy, and most of all, be unapologetically you. Bye-bye.